Let's welcome on our guest line the Executive Director and President of the New York Civil Rights Coalition, the one and only Michael Meyers. Michael, welcome back. How you been?
Hi, Mike Gallagher.
Hi.
You were the one who inspired my column.
You're kidding.
I listened to your radio show yesterday. I listen to your show every weekday.
Thank you, Michael. That means a lot to me. Well, you're such an interesting guy because people would say, all right, here's a black guy who's the head of the New York Civil Rights Coalition. Yeah. Never in a million years would you see him write a column basically defending the free speech rights of these racist college students, but you did.
Absolutely. When Martin Luther King Jr. was head of the civil rights movement, he believed in free speech. Roy Wilkins, my mentor, who was head of the NAACP for 22 years, he believed in free speech. I am a former member of the National Board of the American Civil Liberties Union. I'm a former vice president of the ACLU. I was on the board of the National Board for 25 years. So I am, besides being a civil rights activist, I am also a civil libertarian. I cannot understand the delay on the part of the ACLU and the liberal community to defend the free speech of people we disagree with.
Right.
Because if you can't defend the free speech of people we disagree with, nobody's going to defend your speech. And guess what? On the bus, that's the theme of my article. Because on the bus, do you remember the buses to the Million Man March, the black racist Million Man March, and the acolytes of Farrakhan, who was a black racist? Now, I don't know what they were chanting on that bus because I wasn't on it. But they have a right to chant.
But here's the question about the free speech debate, and this is what I said yesterday. I'd love to get your response to this. I understand that the First Amendment it stands for being able to engage in speech, political speech, free speech, without being thrown in jail or stopped. But what about the argument that doesn't mean speech, especially hateful speech? I don't want to use the word hate speech necessarily because that gets into a whole different, kettle of fish. But hateful speech advocating lynching of black Americans crosses such a line. That doesn't mean that there's no consequences to hateful speech, right, Michael?
Well, of course there are consequences to hateful speech.
So that's all we're saying here.
But, consequences of hateful speech cannot be as a result of government action punishing you for your free speech. Now, a private employer might like what you say about his company, blah, blah, blah. You might get fired.
Right.
But we're talking about government here.
A public institution, a public college.
University of Oklahoma is a public university. It's government. And the First Amendment doesn't just say that you cannot be thrown into jail. The First Amendment says Congress, the government, may not abridge your right of free speech. And what if you don't have any free speech if you can't criticize the government? You don't have free speech if you can't criticize people based on their race or their religion. That's your right of free speech.
But can't we discern between legitimate criticism and the filthy, mindless chanting of lynching blacks on a day?
First of all, nobody crossed the line. Nobody said, "There's a black, go lynch him." That's not the case.
They may hang them, or they may.
You can't go up, stir up a mob and say there are some blacks. Go out and get them. You can't go and say there are some gays. Get your baseball bats and beat them up. That's not free speech.